Snippets are pre-configured data items that perform a specific function for each component state or gauge layer. Default snippets are snippets that do not have any aircraft-specific configuration data, i.e. does not reference a specific aircraft SDK. Default snippets can be assigned to all aircraft, however they only work if the aircraft has been developed to use standard events and variables or standard commands and data refs. Default snippets can be created in module mode and device panel mode. Aircraft-specific snippets can only be created in device panel mode, with the specific aircraft loaded in the flight sim. Default snippets can be overridden with aircraft-specific snippets. So a module could be configured to use a default snippet, which will be used whenever an aircraft-specific snippet is not available. If an aircraft-specific snippet is available for a particular aircraft, that will be used instead of the default snippet. This is done automatically and requires no changes to the module. When creating a snippet, the selected component is used to determine how many states the snippet will have, so careful consideration is needed. In this tutorial, we will make a default snippet and an aircraft-specific snippet for turning on and off the taxi lights, and turning on the associated LED when the taxi lights are on. We currently have the Beach Baron loaded in the flight sim. First we will add a module, and then select a component. Snippets are built in config mode. The configuration data at the bottom of the screen is for assigning configuration data directly to the selected component, which we don't want to do, as we are going to put all this configuration data into a default snippet instead. Known snippets are listed down the right-hand side. Note that default snippets are marked default at the end of their names. Also note that snippets with lit method in their name only contain variable or data ref data. They are meant specifically for use in device panel lighting methods, but can also be used for LEDs. Clicking the Add button allows us to add a snippet. Next, give the snippet a meaningful name. The label name is used for automatic component labeling. Because we are in device panel mode, we have the option to make the snippet a default snippet by enabling the default toggle button. If we don't enable the default toggle button, the snippet will be aircraft specific, for the current aircraft in use in the flight sim. Notice that we have event and data available. Normally a push button can only be assigned an event, however the push button is linked to an LED so they can share a snippet or direct configuration data. The configured variable or data ref data will be used by the LED, and the configured event or command data will be used by the push button. Each snippet can have an event or command assigned to each state. Normally only one variable or data ref can be added to a snippet on state 0. The state 0 variable data is used on all states. However, gauges can have multiple variables or data refs assigned to each layer. Clicking the data combo box, we can search for the taxi light variable. You would expect these two variables to be the correct ones to use, however they are not, and are very misleading. Light taxi is the taxi light switch state, whilst light taxi on is meant to indicate if the taxi lights are on. This last variable rarely works correctly, and so it's best to use the variable light on states if you wish the LED to be lit when the taxi lights are actually on. This variable is complex, as it uses a bit mask, which means each bit indicates which light is on. Referencing the variable on the internet, you can determine which bit is used for taxi lights, which is bit 8. So we can now assign an action of has flag, and custom value of 8. What this means is that the LED will turn on when the variable light on states has bit 8 set to 1. We will assign the push button's event on the pressed state, so that it occurs instantly. Notice how data is now disabled, because normally, only one variable can be assigned. There is no need to assign anything else, in this example. We can now save the snippet, and assign it to the selected button, by double-clicking the taxi light snippet. Notice how the button has been automatically labeled, using the label we defined at the beginning. We don't recommend assigning snippets directly to a device panel, unless it's being built for a very specific purpose. Generally, it's best to assign snippets to modules, and then override snippets for a particular aircraft. This way you can have a generic device panel that will work with various aircraft without having to change the module or the device panel. To recap, snippet assignments made on a device panel are always aircraft-specific. Assignments made on a module in module mode are defaults for all aircraft, and automatically appear on the device panel when the module is assigned to it. However, these default snippets can be overridden by assigning a snippet on the device panel, which can do something completely unrelated to the original assigned default snippet. We have loaded up the PMDG-NGX, so we can use its aircraft-specific events and variables. Notice how the taxi lights snippet label has gone from the push button. That's because the assignment of the taxi lights snippet was for the Beach Baron only, because we assigned it in device panel mode. If we had assigned the taxi lights snippet to the module in module mode, the taxi lights snippet would have been automatically assigned for the NGX, as well as the Beach Baron, because it would be the module's default snippet for that push button. We can now edit the taxi lights default snippet to create an aircraft-specific snippet that will override the default snippet whenever the PMDG-NGX is loaded into the flight sim. The variable data does not need to change, as the PMDG-NGX uses the standard flight sim variable to track the taxi light status. Moving to state 1, we need to change the event to the NGX specific version, otherwise the snippet will not work with the NGX. PMDG aircraft need an event action. In this case, it's mouse left, because the taxi light switch in the virtual cockpit is flicked on or off by clicking it with the mouse left button. Clicking OK, we now notice that default is no longer shown against the taxi lights snippet, indicating that it is now an aircraft-specific snippet for the currently loaded aircraft. This concludes our tutorial. I hope you found it useful.